We are recording in progress. So what I really, before we get all jiggy with it, is I just wanted a little bit of anatomy, so you have it in your mind, you can see your body. I talk a lot about your hip socket is very deep. So this is your hip and your socket. How do you like my kitchen tools here? See how deep that sits into the socket? It's almost impossible to dislocate your hip because it is so buried in there. Shoulder joint, not so much. This is your shoulder joint. There it sits. So the tendons, the rotator cuff tendons, your deltoid and your pec major are really instrumental in holding the shoulder in there, because as we move the shoulder, here's the other thing I wanted to demonstrate, it has to both move but also slide so it stays in the socket, so it's not rolling up to the top of the socket. Am I demonstrating this well? Hey there, Stephen. So I'm going to ask you to observe this as you move tonight. Can you feel the head of the socket slide? So the head of the humerus, upper arm bone sliding in the socket. Because if we don't have that movement, we are straining not just the cartilage, but we are wearing things out sooner. And the other thing that is really, really key for shoulder, now I'm going to invite you to just get up, walk around. And posture is huge for how the shoulder joint is oriented. And so as you walk around, notice, look at your arms. Are they hanging maybe in front of your body, or are they hanging by the side? Because if we are more in the red light reflex, we are moving the arms forward of the body. So that changes how we are using them. If the pec minors and majors are tight, it pulls the shoulder down and in. Again, greatly going to affect how our shoulder joint is moving. And the last part that is really instrumental is your rib cage. How much movement do we have in the rib cage? Because if the rib cage is not moving, we are putting that task on the shoulder movement, and that's not how we were designed. So we're going to sort of play with these concepts in tonight's practice. So from here, I invite you to come on to your mat. And on your back, just come right onto your back. And notice your imprint right now. So, and I know this goes way back. About a month ago, before I closed up shop, we had, so it's more than a month ago, we had a shoulder session where we just examined the main movements of the shoulder joint and the shoulder blade. So if you don't remember how many shoulder blade movements there are 10. But what I would like you to just notice right now is, how does your shoulder blades orient to the mat? Is it flat? Are you feeling pokiness of the bottom border, the upper border, the inner border, the outer borders? So there are a lot of room for variation here. Do the shoulder blades feel the same on each side? And as you came onto your back, notice if you placed yourself with your palms facing down or up. Downward facing palm can signify more tension across the pecs, pulling the shoulder forward, tension around the supraspinatus, as opposed to palms facing up, where we spread out a little bit more. So it's not like one is right or wrong, but when we repeat those habit postures over and over and over again, that signature becomes really, really well established. Go ahead and bend out the knees. And just place your hands on your lower abdomen. Breathing in and out. So here's another thing that is a little bit different from the somatics and Feldenkrais in my experience. And Feldenkrais just dive right into whatever they want to work on. we're going to start just getting our lumbar spine moving in the right direction. Lower abdomen, so the diaphragm is moving with the belly ground. Breathing in and breathing out. Does the lower abdomen expand on the in-breath? If it doesn't, we are using the neck muscles to breathe more so than the diaphragm. And that again will put a tremendous amount of strain around the shoulders and neck. Will pull the head forward and it clamps your ribs up under the collarbone. So I invite you to elongate, stretch the breath out a little bit. Stretch the out breath out a little bit. I wasn't very specific. Let the in breath be exactly what it was. And stretch the out breath. And on your next in breath, let's arch the low back. And exhale, slowly float back to neutral. Take a breath in and out, and we'll repeat. Inhale, arch. Slowly release. Offer breath. One more time. Arching, and just pause here at the arch. Can you slide an arm under the low back in the arch? That's sort of the gold standard here. Being able to take its arm all the way under the lumbar spine. And we lose that ability often. So that just gives a little bit of it's like, yeah, well, we know where we are. So working towards that because the spine depends on that to some degree. Now let's move in the opposite direction. Take a breath in for nothing. And exhale, flatten the low back. Flattening the low back. And inhale, slowly release. Offer breath. And exhale again, hollowing out the lower belly. And slowly release. Do that one more time. Breath in for nothing. And exhale, flat. And then let's take the arms out to goalpost arms. And remind yourself, never strain, force. If anything is uncomfortable, make whatever adjustments your body likes to make it feel more comfortable. And that may be backing off entirely and only do the movement in your head, imagining it. As you inhale, arch the low back. And exhale, flattening the low back. Inhale, arch. Back and forth. And exhale, flattening. One more time. Inhale, arch. Exhale, flattening. We're going to add a little bit of arm movement. So for the inhalation, the arm stays where they are. But as you exhale, pivot the forearm down towards the side body. So the palms are now facing down. As you flatten, we inhale, we are back into the arch. And exhale, Rotate the upper arm so the lower arm and hand are now parallel to your trunk. And inhale, releasing back to the arch, goalpost arms, last one. Exhale, flattening, arms parallel to the trunk. And inhale, arms back overhead. Slide, interlace the fingers behind the head for the arch and curl. So inhale, arch the low back, we know that one. Exhale, moving right into the curl, draw the elbows up, curling up, head, top of the shoulders, and slowly lowering the head down. Relift the elbows, and let's count them down from 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and done. Buffer breath. In and out. And let's repeat. Inhale, arch. Exhale, flattening. Draw the elbows up, shoulder blades spreading, curling up. And coming down. Relift the elbows. And 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and all the way down. Buffer breath. One more time. Inhale, arch. And exhale, flattening elbows. And curling up. So the weight of the head rests in the hand, but you're not pulling with the hands. Keep a little flattening in the low back as you lengthen out. And we relift. Last one, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and done. Slide the legs out. Press out through the right heel and slide the right elbow back. And exhale back to center. Let's go to the left side. Left heel moves away from the left elbow. So side flexion. Go only as far as it's comfortable. Sliding the upper trunk from side to side. Inviting the ribs to spread apart, opening. We're going to need this for the shoulder mobility. I'm going to be asking you to investigate this in the practice coming right around the corner. One more time to each side. So head stays down, side bending the chest. Pulling one elbow back, the other one down towards the body. And we come back to center. Bend out the knees, one arch and curl, just to bookend it with, after a one-sided move, we want to do something that is same or both. Arching, exhale, curling up. And inhale, coming all the way down. And take the arms out, straighten the legs out. Just pause here. Pause and note. What changed? So these practices in their own right, very powerful practices. You may find that you're laying a little flatter than you did when you started. So go ahead and bend up the knees. And you're going to roll over onto one side, but my bad. I should have said you're going to need head support. So a couple of blankets, firm pillows, bath towels, because you want enough height, an agreeable dog where you can lay on your side, or cat, feline, canine, we're not leaving anybody out. That you can lay comfortable on the side where the head is neutral, the neck is not strained. And then you're going to put one hand on top of the other. So I'm rolling over onto your left side would be really great if that's available, because that way I can just read my notes that I have carefully written out. So on the left side, and here comes my spectacles. And so here, comfortably laying on the side and arms straight out in front, one hand, so that would be your right arm on top of the left. And I realize you may find that there's some hip, like, thingy. So you may like to put some more softness under your left hip if that feels really bony. And you're just going to slide the right arm back and forth. So it's sliding the right arm. Keep the elbow straight. So this movement comes mostly from the rib cage. Back and forth. So we're getting a little rib cage massage as we move. You feel like you're rolling a little bit forward, and then you're rolling back a little bit. So making the movement small, we talked a little bit about before that to feel a fly, if it lands on a feather, keep going back and forth. It's really hard to feel on a cannonball if you're holding that, but if you're holding a feather, you can feel it. So now I invite you to close your eyes, and as you move, can you feel the socket and the head of the humerus, the ball and socket? Feel that movement in there. There's going to be a little bit of sliding and gliding. And that is really, really important. And that can take a little bit of time to discern because it is deep in there. So closing of the eyes can be really helpful. Maybe slow the movement down a little bit. And if it's uncomfortable to have the arms together, you might like to have a pillow or bolsters under the arm so that they're not right together, but actually lifted. You can even put the arm up on a chair, couch, so that we're not collapsing in the front. So there are many ways that we can create ease. If you have one of the foam rollers, your arm can roll on that instead of the bottom arm, in which case you'd want to move the bottom arm out of the way just so you can roll the top arm. So there are different ways, again, to work with this. What is so important is that it is painless, painless. Back and forth, slow and easy. Take the whole rib cage with you as you rock. So this one here, we're going to call 3 o'clock. 3 o'clock. And then next time you move back, just come all the way onto your back. Pause there. All the way on your back. So there's a lot of sort of checking in with these practices. And notice, did it change how your shoulder blades now feel in relation to one another? So the arm movement, the shoulder girdle, it consists, of course, of the humerus, the upper arm bone, the shoulder blade, and the collarbone. But the mobility of the rib cage is alpha and omega. And a lot of shoulder thingies are due to too little movement of the rib cage. So it's called a cage, but it's not a lockdown cage. It needs to be super pliable. Did you notice a difference? Did it change anything by doing this? Maybe. We're going to roll on to the left side again. Bending up the knees. And so we start again out at 3 o'clock, straight out from the shoulders. But then allow your right arm to slide down to about 4 o'clock. So now we're changing the angle of the ball in the socket, and then slide here. Slide the right arm. So the top arm moved down, bottom arm stayed the same. So left arm didn't move, but the right arm now slipped down to about 4 o'clock. So think of your left arm 3 o'clock, right arm 4 o'clock. So no, and again, taking it, let the arm just rest on the floor unless that hurts, unless that's uncomfortable. Then you want to take blankets or pillows so that you're not necessarily holding the weight of the arm up, but that it can slide, it can rest on something else. So you want the weight of the arm to not be traveling up into the neck. So Stephen, I'm looking at you. Can you drop your hand down to the floor? Does that hurt? Dropping your top arm down to the floor. If that hurts, we need to bolster it up with blocks or blankets or something. So that, because lifting the arm unsupported will travel right up into the traps and your neck. How big you make this movement is how big you make the movement. Now, as you slide on the out breath. So can you feel here? You're compressing the ribs down to create this one. The ribs are compressing on the side. Before you were rolling straight onto them, but now we are asking the ribs to become much more involved. Now, what about 5 o'clock? What if you slide the arm down even further? So now your 3 is straight out, 4 was down, 5 is closer to your knees. Can you feel that your ribs are compressing more, sliding down? So sensing what has to happen for me to make that movement. If the ribs are not compressing, how am I reaching that arm down? What am I borrowing from instead of using the ribs? Something is going to have to give me that movement. So again, backing up, back up to 4 o'clock, back to 4 o'clock. And 3 o'clock. We're making our way up to 3 o'clock, back where we started at sort of our, we know this one. Notice how is that different on the rib cage? Back and forth. And what happens if you slide the right arm up to 2 o'clock? How is that different? And notice again, the ball and socket. How is that negotiating now that it is up higher? How does that feel different? What is the rib cage? So now we need the upper ribs to really open up. And doing this more on the in-breath rather than the out-breath that we did when we were moving below the arm. So when you're up here, what happens? You inhale and reach the arm up. Can you feel the ribs supporting this movement? And then let's go back to 3 o'clock. Back to 3 o'clock. Hands sliding against each other. Elbow straight. So here again, we're taking the rib cage with us. Keep the elbows straight. And notice, you can just open your eyes and just notice, am I bending my elbow? That's a compensatory movement pattern. If I bend my elbow to create this movement, not letting the shoulder blade do it. And let's roll on to the back and pause. Pause and sense. Feel. What did this do? And again, back off if there's discomfort and pain, do the movements in your head. This is not a one-shot deal. You're never allowed to do it again. Remember, the recording is available for you. And Marek Wyszynski, my teacher of all these things, he said something really profoundly. He said, don't let your ambition get you hurt. I thought, well, that's pretty good. So notice if you're moving from ego that's not available in your body. Did this make a difference? Can you tell a difference on one side to the other? So now let's roll on to the right side. So if somebody can't lie down to do this, you could teach them sitting at a table, sliding the hand across a tabletop or couch or a bed, because you know, all students become teachers. It just goes that way. And so there's always a way. So let's start. Now we're going to be, you're on the right side, you're going to be at 9 o'clock. So think of yourself lying on this big clock dial, and your fingers, your arms are aiming to 9 o'clock, and slide now the left arm. Left arm, the top arm just does the sliding. So make it light, not forced or hard. I did find when I'm doing these practices, I like my head kind of close to the edge of the pillow. So as I roll forward, I'm not sort of jamming my whole face into the pillow, but I can sort of roll right off the edge. That's just a personal preference for me, because you're taking the ribs, but also the head with you into the rotation. As you reach across your body to grab something, what is moving? So we're just looking to establish easy mobility. Can you feel it again? Can you feel that movement? The ball in the socket, sliding. Can you feel the shoulder blade moving away from the spine towards the spine? Let's go down to 8 o'clock. So slide the top arm, just drop it down a wee bit and slide it now. And this is the one doing it on the out breath. And feel how your rib cage is now moving differently. Go back to 9 o'clock. Back and forth at 9 o'clock. So notice we're constantly moving the dial. And then go up to 10 o'clock. So now the left arm is going to come up on top, and we're sliding upward rather than out or downward now. I know. We didn't get the 7 o'clock. I know. It's coming though. Don't worry about it. So go ahead, go back now to 8 o'clock. So we went from 10 down to 8. So just go back and forth a couple of times on 8. What happens in the rib cage at 8? What happens in the rib cage at 10? How is that different? Then you can go back and forth. So that differentiation, can you feel the difference? Is there a difference, or are you executing these two movements exactly the same, where one actually demands that the lower ribs are closing up when the arm is at 8, but they need to spread and open when you take the arm up to 10 o'clock. And then let's come back to 9 o'clock and sort of polish this one right off, right in the center. Keep the elbows straight as you slide. That way we isolate the movement into the shoulder joint, to the rib cage and shoulder blade. You need to get all three parts moving. I see that a lot with my more mature students, lacking shoulder mobility, and the elbows become really busy. And let's just come on to the back, pause and feel again. So ideally, the shoulder blades are laying flat on the back, so they're not feeling pokey. That's the neutral shoulder blade. But if there is an uneven pull from anywhere around, then we're going to start to feel that we get the inner border we can feel, or the bottom or the top. So that just gives us some information. Let's go back to the left side again. Roll on to the left side. We'll start again at 3 o'clock. So just take your time. And thank you for turning around so I can see all of you. So we just start. Only the top arm, that's our mover. Feel the whole rib cage coming around. Coming around. Feel the connection. Like really take your mind into the joint. Again, keep the top elbow straight. It wants to bend. It's a compensatory movement pattern. Don't let it. Can you roll on the rib cage? Roll around on the rib cage. So it's like you're getting a rib massage. So you're rolling from taking the heart towards the floor, taking the heart more towards the sky. And then from here, we're going to take the arm all the way down and rest it on the hip. So you might want to pull your knees up a little bit higher, just wherever you're comfortable, but we're going to be using the real estate of the entire outer thigh. So this movement, and that's one of the cardinal movements of the shoulder joint, sliding the arm straight down to no rotator cuff involvement, and feel that restriction, the contraction in the side chest. Slide the arm straight down and letting go. And if your head wants to lift up with the arm movement, go ahead and let it. It's all right. Again, just be mindful. Don't do anything that bothers you. Nothing that hurts. In which case, back up. So straight down. And then slide your hand forward a little bit. So we was right down the side. So let it come to about mid-thigh. So that's like more like 5 o'clock of your top arm. And then work from here. How is this movement different now that you are a little bit more at a diagonal, a little bit more out in front? So with the knees pulled more up to the side, I can slide the forearm down the outer thigh. It just gives it a ledge. 5 o'clock. Outer thigh, just outer thigh. So you just have this ledge. Keep the elbow straight. Keep the elbow straight. They want to bend. Don't let them. This is a rib trunk movement, much more shoulder, but arm passive. We're going to take the arm all the way to the knee. So this would be more again, maybe 4 o'clock is 4:30. We can say the knee is about 4:30. Are you getting numbness and tingliness, Rachel?
No, my hand, my whole body just feels kind of inflamed right now. And so anyway, my joints just feel kind of inflamed and sticky.
Allow yourself just to back off. I mean, just,
Yeah, thanks.
I want to make sure that you weren't feeling any zinginess down your arm. If you were, if anybody's feeling discomfort or numbness in your arms, and that maybe you're going too far, some restriction, contraction around the neck is sending those signals. So less is always more when it comes to this work. So now go ahead and let the hand drop down to the floor. So we're back at that 4 o'clock again, below, just below the left arm, but just sliding. Same side. So the hand drop down to the floor, right below, maybe 4 or 5 inches below your left arm. So we've been at this one here already. We know this one. And then we continue up to 3 o'clock. That one we really know by now. Sliding. And we move up to 2 o'clock. So let the top arm slide off and notice how it begins to orient the whole rib cage differently. We continue to 1 o'clock. And you may find as you come to 1 o'clock, it's just not in the cards today. And then you drop back to 2, or you rest, you do what your body needs to do at any one time. Again, here, letting the hand rest on blankets or a chair so that it is not collapsing or congesting in the front of the armpit may feel better. Now the last one, the opposite, where we started, is 12 o'clock. Is that available to draw up to 12 o'clock? So that demands the entire rib cage, and that is a big movement, even though that is our natural range of movement. If you look at people, it is not our natural, it's lost for most. But we get it back by practicing these movements. All ribs are now spreading apart as you slide and coming together, spreading apart. The outer edge of the shoulder blade is now all the way out to the side in this position. We are going to go back to 3 o'clock. And just finish that one up at 3 o'clock. And come all the way onto your back. Pause. Notice as you breathe in and out, what is going on the inside? And let's go ahead and roll over onto the right side. Like, since you weren't using the mat, I'll just take it. I'll just take my nap right here. We start again at 9 o'clock. 9 o'clock, slide. And now we're going to take our little time getting down there. We're going to drop this one down to 8 o'clock. So hand is dropped down a little bit below. We know this one. What about 7 o'clock? How does that feel? Can you feel again the rib cage are moving down? Rib cage are moving down. And so we each, again, we have a signature shape for many different reasons. Nature and nurture. So notice where your sticky bits are. We don't need to get all hung up on the stories or anything. We just think, okay, this is a little snug here. Go ahead and take your top arm onto the knee. So we are sort of backing our way into it this time. So again, we are just getting closer and closer to that 6 o'clock. Ribs compress, back up. Compressing down, back up. What about moving the hand about mid-thigh? So we get closer and closer to 6 o'clock, but not quite there. And then 6 o'clock. Sliding straight down the hip, straight down. So compressing the whole side, chest and waist, sliding out. So again, this is not a big movement. And if your head says, I'd really like to lift up, how did that change the movement? And then go back to 9 o'clock. Sliding it right back up. And 10 o'clock, we're going to lift the arm up. Above, again, shoulder, blade follows the humerus bone. The rib cage is doing the brunt of this movement. 11 o'clock, we're reaching up even higher. Reaching, so now everything is opening up. And again, if this is painful in any way, we back off. You can also go back to doing these movements surely from the shoulder without the arm following. That was that lesson we did way back. It's coming around again, don't worry. What about 12 o'clock? What is available there? And it may be 11:30. It may not be quite 12 o'clock. And again, here you could have a chair, which would change the angle, because what I'm really more interested in just is this happening? Are the ribs opening to facilitate this movement? And then we come all the way down and pause. Boom. Onto your back. Sensing. What is your body communicating? What has changed? And we're going to roll onto the right side again. Right side again. And so this time, as you come onto the right side and then place your hand on your hip again, your left arm on the hip, but go ahead and just drop it right behind. So again, this may be uncomfortable, in which you can elevate it up, and then you're going to slide here. What movement has to happen for that to happen? So fingertips, you can't really see my fingertips. Fingertips probably facing down, sliding so right behind the sacrum. So we'll call this 5 o'clock. I think it's 5 o'clock. Is it 7 o'clock? 5 o'clock, thank you. And then from 5 o'clock, and you go to 4 o'clock. So slide the arm a little bit further and begin to take your trunk with you. Take the trunk so your nose begins to look up towards the sky. So you're coming into a twisty event. As you reach, you'll also notice your hand begins to turn. So you're more maybe on the pinky side of the back of the hand now at 4 o'clock. But let your ribs twist to create this, so that you're not jamming the back of the shoulder joint, but the head and the socket is still very much aligned. So the movement is one unfeathered line. What about 3 o'clock? So coming further and further onto your back, palm facing up now. Palm facing up. And your nose pretty much to the sky. Sternum towards the sky. So this is a big twisty movement. And for arm backwards, and this is where there's often injury in these behind the movements, because we have lost that. We're going to bookend this with 9 o'clock. So you're going to take your arms back together in front. And just notice as you now slide. How does that feel? Going behind your back, did that change anything? And then come onto your back, coming onto your back. Letting go of all effort. And without moving, but in your mind, it's like you are going to imagine exactly what's coming down the bike in about 60 seconds. See yourself rolling onto your left side in your mind only. And in your mind, see you take the arm behind you and see you sliding that arm back and forth at 7 o'clock. So this is only happens in your mind, in your motor cortex right now, is being primed. At 8 o'clock, how does that feel? Nine o'clock, all the way behind you. Feel that movement as if it was happening. And then we're going to go ahead and do it. So you're going to now roll onto your left side. For the last time, I may add. As you roll onto your left side, you'll take the arm behind. So right behind the hips by the sacrum. And don't worry about the orientation, just whatever feels comfortable. And then sliding. So letting your trunk begin to orient to your back arm, so you're not, again, jamming it back into the socket, but that your socket and hand is a continuous and not a sort of kinked event. Sliding back. Feel again the rib cage. What are the ribs doing on your back body as you slide down? And what happens if you move up to 8 o'clock, so a little bit higher, and let the arm begin to rotate onto the pinky side or the back of the hand, whatever is comfortable. Sliding back, and again here, you may like to have somebody, something, not somebody, but something to rest your arm on. You could have somebody too, if they are very agreeable, feline, canine, humanine. Sliding. And what about all the way up to 9 o'clock? So letting your trunk rotate with it so that you have both shoulder blades ish on the back right now. Do you have both shoulder blades on the back? On the mat? They are on your back, I hope. Are they also on your mat? And then we're going to conclude by 3 o'clock, last time. Sliding. And resting on your back. And letting go of all effort. So whether bent knees, straight legs, whatever feels better for your body. Notice the right side of your body, the left side of your body. And traveling back to where we started almost an hour ago. What has changed? Are you holding tension anywhere? Can you just let everything be earthbound? Then allow your breath to gently begin to deepen. Wriggling fingers, wriggling toes. Bend up the knees. And just rock them gently from side to side. Roll all the way over onto one side and pause. support your head as you come onto the side. And so we will go ahead and sit up into a comfortable seated where we will close the session with the recording. And after we close it with Om Shanti 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 Hi Om, and I invite you to actually get up and walk around, and then I want to hear what you have to share. Let's bring our palms together at heart center. Sensing the shoulder blades on your back, supporting the back side of the heart. Let's take a deep breath in. Om Shanti 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 Om. Thank you. Namaste.